Hi Ash. Okay, so Visual Studio Code. All right, you probably have a welcome screen. Uh, so let's make a new file that you can work with. So you always want to work on a folder in Visual Studio Code. So let's go open folder and we'll put it in your documents folder. So click documents and then right click in white space. Oh, you know what? There's a button called new folder up near the top. Let's go with that. So click that. You can make a folder. I'll call it Ash. You can call it whatever you want. All right. And then click on the bottom right, select folder. Ooh. All right. So we can get rid of the welcome screen. Now, up here, we have a new file icon. So click that. And we're going to talk about recursion. So let's call it recursion.py. Now, before you hit enter, you might get a pop-up about asking if you want to include an extension for Python. Say yes, but don't worry if you missed it or something or it didn't happen. I'll show you what to put, what to do. So there's that. Now I didn't get any pop-ups because I already have the stuff installed that I want, but if nothing happened for you, you can click extensions here, which is the little blocks, and type Python, and then choose the one that's by Microsoft. And you click it and select install. Then you can also search for Pylance. And again, take the one by Microsoft, click it, and click to install it. And you're good. Now, let's talk recursion. Okay, let's say you wanted to make a function that just added up the items in a list. And Python has a built-in function to do that. And you can also just use a loop and iterate through the list. Well, let's say those things didn't exist. How could you add up the items in the list? And you didn't know how many items there were, and there could be a gazillion, so you can't just do it manually, So, okay, what do we do? Well, we'll make a function. We're just writing words here. I'm going to make this a comment. Comment in Python starts with a hashtag or pound sign, as my generation called it. And you can actually make a line of comment or uncomment with control and the slash, the one that's under the question mark. So back and forth. So the function will be called, well, forget what it's called. What we want is we have a list, and it's pointing to, it'll start at the first index, which in Python is index 0. Python is 0 based. So we want to take the current element of the list and add it to, let's go to the next line, the return value of the function using the next item in the list. And you can see as we keep going, we're going to hit everything in the list. But how do we know when to stop? Recursive functions always need a terminating statement or condition. So say we have 3 items in the list, index 0, 1, and 2. When we start the function, if our index is pointing to index 3, which is outside the list, then we want to stop. So stop if the index equals the length of the list. Okay, all right, we can work with that. Well, let's kind of visualize this, I'm going to attempt to draw. Do I have a drawing pro? Yes, I do. Let's see. Bringing it in and making it fit. Okay. The circle is going to be the return value. And we go through, let's look at our little program. So the return value of the function using the next item, so the current element of the list added to the return value of the function. So we're going to call the function again. Let's get a duplicate of this. So here we're running through. How do we get that? Let's make a nice line connecting them. Oh, this is kind of fun. I'm learning this on the fly. All right. Now, so we know. Let's say our list contains 1, 2, 3. So first time, it's going to the value. We're going to add 1, 2. So we'll say add 1 to the next thingy. Because we don't know what it's going to be. So this is our index equals 0, which is the first item in the list. Now, let's now make another duplicate. All right, and let's make one of those lines. Okay, so now I is equal to 2, or 1, sorry. Start with 0. So let's get a pen. I equals 1. And we know we are going to add 2 to the next thingy. And we're going to do it again. All right. I'm running out of room. All right, I'll skip the line this time. You get it. I equals 2. But then on the next one, and this one, we're going to add 3. So now we're going to have I equals 3. So we got 3 items on our list, items 0, 1, and 2. All right. And now we're outside the list, and so I is equal to the length of the list. I'm like, whoa, stop. So what do we return that we should start adding these things? So we're going to work our way backwards to backfill our values. All right. So what we would want to do is return 0. Look at that lovely writing. So we return 0. This is the first time we've actually returned a real number we can work with here. So we return 0. This says add 3 to the next thingy. The next thingy being 0. So here we get 3. This says add 2 to the next thingy. We get 5. This says add 1 to the next thingy. We get 6. And that is our return value, is 6. So, wasn't that great? Let's write it up. You go away. All right. So, I don't know how much Python you've done, but in Python we make a function by using the term def, short for define. And we will, we're adding up the items in a list recursively. So how about add list rec. And we're going to take a list, let's call it the list. And we need to keep track of which item in the list we're pointing to, which index, we'll call that I. All right. Now, we will start with our terminating condition. Terminating condition. I like to put a space after. It's not necessary, but I think it looks nicer. Okay. So, if I equals, now double equals, a single equals is assignment. A double equals is a question is equal. That's an important distinction. So if I is equal to the length, now to get a length of something in Python, use the len function, the length of the list, and end it with a colon, then what do? We will return 0. So, if you're wondering why you don't need an else to go with this if, I mean, if we enter this if statement, if this is true, we're going to return. So we're going to leave, the function will be over if this is true. So if it's false, then we'll just fall through. So if you put an else, you could put an else, else, but it would make no difference. So now what do we do if that's not the case? We want to return the value, so the list at index I, like the first time it'll be 1, so if our list is 1, 2, 3, the first time will be 1, and we want to add that to running the function again using the same list, but this time at the next, pointing to the next number. So there we have it. And that's it. So let's see, well, let's use the function. So let's assign it to a variable. Call it our value. Call it anything we want. Equals add list rec. So we need to give it a list. In Python, we make a list, these square brackets, and we'll do 1, 2, 3. So the first parameter, this whole thing is one item, it's a list. And so that will be sent, the list will take on this value. Let's make it pretty, get the space there. And we're going to start with the first item, item 0. But I'll let you know a secret. Python has something called default parameter values. So I'm going to make a default value for this parameter of 0. That means if we give it no value, obviously they have to come at the end of the function. So if we give no second parameter, it will get the default value of 0. So you'll see here when we call the function, we do keep giving it a value, so it'll have a value. But this time, less for the users of our function to have to type. All right, and then we're going to print our value. Okay, now we can run it. We can get a terminal. If you go to View, then select Terminal. If that option is not available, you can go to Terminal, New Terminal, but you should start with View, Terminal. So we'll type Python, and you can just type part of it and tab it out. The .exe is unnecessary, and then we'll start typing the name. Ooh, I did not save it. That's important. Save it. Control S will save. Or you can go to the File menu. So start typing and then tab it out. This / for Windows means the current directory. The dot means the current directory. Not necessary, but when you tab it out, it puts it in there. Look at that. 6 right here. There it is. So we have learned recursion. All right, that's all for this video. How do I stop this? Oh yeah, bye.